It's The List and your boy with Jimmy Van and Sean Ross Sapp.
With Jimmy and Sean, sell pills for your dong. Make a fantastic song. Make a fantastic song.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor, FightfulWrestling.com. We're here with Jimmy Van. What are you drinking, Jimmy?
An alcoholic beverage.
Oh, I see. So some of you may have realized we didn't set up the event ahead of time. We were just like, we'll do it live. We'll see how it works.
Because it never worked. Ever since we came up to this room, it hasn't worked. We don't know why, but it hasn't worked. So we're going to abandon the events for the immediate future. Maybe not permanently, but for the immediate future, we're going to.
Yeah, so we don't rock with the Wirecast YouTube setup that we have for quite some time. We do, but it's a little bit different. So we're just gonna go with what we got right here. Why not? We are.
That's what we're gonna do
on YouTube and Twitter. Of course, we are on podcast platforms everywhere.
Another one of those weeks, Sean. Like I say every week, are we gonna have enough news for the week?
Always enough news.
Kudos to Sean Ross Sapp. He's breaking so many stories now that you're giving me so much content, Sean. Before we get started, I have a question for Sean Ross Sapp.
Okay.
Are you familiar with family history sites, Sean? Like Ancestry.com?
Yeah, I've done it. Oh boy, I'll tell you off the air. But am I ever?
Are you really?
Oh, I'll tell you during our interview segment because. Oh yeah.
Really? So a few weeks ago, I had some spare time on a weekend. And so I thought to myself, you know what, I got a little bit of free time. I am going to look up the surname Sapp.
Okay.
And I'm going to do a little bit of research and see what's out there.
Surprise?
Might be.
Okay, I'm like Bob Sapp, former IWGP, my third cousin.
I remember we talked about that, yeah. So I did some research. Did you know, Sean, that the Sapp surname was first found in Norfolk, England? Did you know that?
Yeah, I sure did.
Did you know that members of the Sapp clan were later found in the U.S. and in Scotland and in Ontario, Canada, Sean?
Well, considering I am from the U.S., yes, I did know one of those.
That one's obvious. And also in other parts of Canada as well. Ontario was predominant, but also Newfoundland. There's a lot of Sapps in Newfoundland, Sean.
Big dogs come from there, and I don't mean Roman Reigns.
Did you know that the first U.S.-based Sapp settlers occurred in 1763?
Is what you're about to tell me, are me and Melissa cousins?
Oh, well, we're going to get there.
Cousin Melissa?
We're going to get there. So did you know that in 1763, Hannah Sapp landed in North Carolina? That was the first Sapp that hit the U.S. Then in 1912, Sean, Mahood Sapp landed in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada. Mahood Sapp in St. John's, Newfoundland.
How do you spell that?
Mahood. Mahood Sapp.
Okay.
My scoop Sapp.
Yeah. There you go. So then, Sean, I kept on doing a little bit of research because I was just curious. I want to get to know my people, you know. I was curious. I was doing some research. I discovered that Sean Ross Sapp has a doppelganger. I discovered that Sean Ross Sapp has a third cousin, and can you believe, Sean, that the name of this town, and this is real, look this up, the name of this town is Dildo, Newfoundland, which makes sense because of the SRS file. It makes perfect sense, right? Sean Ross Sapp has a doppelganger, it's a third cousin, living in Dildo, Newfoundland. And I decided to dig into my pocket, Sean, and I decided to bring this doppelganger up to Toronto, Canada from Dildo, Newfoundland. And I want to introduce to everybody right now, this is Jacob Sapp. Hit the music, Nigel.
Yeah. What's up, Fightful? You can't see it.
You got to cut his window.
What's up, kidding now?
Sean Ross Sapp, your boy, not overrated
the dumbest
at
thing
all.
I've ever seen in my entire life.
What's up, pretty suave?
What
What's
are we
up,
doing?
awesome? What's up,
Does this window have to stay up there?
I can move it.
Yeah,
I moved it 'cause you
move Sean's
I
window.
mean, yeah.
Move Sean's window.
told me you
Jesus
wanted it on the other
Christ.
side.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Look at this. Look at the resemblance.
Well, let me say.
Look at this doppelganger here.
I appreciate the hairline on that. I got the widow's peak, the family widow's peak that goes back a little bit. So I'm more partial to the hairline on the mask.
It's an amazing resemblance, and when I first met this person, I thought, I really got to fly them up to Toronto because the resemblance is amazing. What do you think, man?
That version looks like it eats food very disgustingly and probably smokes often. And you know what? I'm okay. Since I have such a connection with this person, I would like Jacob Sapp to prove his loyalty by buying me a Nintendo Switch.
How does Jacob have to prove any loyalty to you?
You know, I got a lot of things rattling around in my head right now, Jimmy. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to process this.
Look at the uncanny resemblance. What an amazing...
Well, let me just say,
Wow,
guys,
what a
in
doppelganger.
the first 6 months of this site,
What a doppelganger.
Jimmy and I did not speak face-to-face via video or in person.
It's very
I
true.
had no idea his real commitment level to this website.
It's true, true.
And here we are 2.5 years later, and I'm looking at myself. Now, here's another funny story, guys. A couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, which makes this even more impressive, my wife comes up to me, who's been with me for 10, 11 years, whatever it may be, looks at me dead in the eye, goes, "What color are your eyes?" And I'm like, "Why would you ask me that?" My wife acting like some amateur optometrist. And she goes, "Oh, no reason." And then she goes and runs to her phone.
So I got to tell you, when Mel told me that she asked that question, I was like, why on earth would you do that? And she said, they've been together 11 years. I thought she knew. Didn't think she would have to go and ask him.
To be fair, my eyes have a bit of a shift to them. There's some stuff. But you all went deep. This was quick turnaround. How did this happen so fast?
Oh, we have ways.
It
we
takes
have
Pro
ways.
Wrestling Tees longer to make a T-shirt and send it to me than it does for that.
And I gotta say, Jacob really outdid himself in terms of making sure that the look. I mean, the hair. Wow, I was impressed. I was impressed. So I had to bring Jacob here. I had to do it. I had to.
Is this going to be one of your dumbass characters like Marie?
I guess we're gonna find out.
Oh my God. I have a lot of emotions going on right now, and I'm not sure if any of them are the right one.
Well, I hope you like that one, man. This is a unique one. I want to see any other wrestling site pull this one off. It's a unique one. It's awesome. Should we?
No, I'd rather people not aggregate my face, if at all possible. I think one time is enough.
Maybe we'll post it. Maybe we'll ask one of our people to post it on Reddit or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Why? No, we don't do that. We will not do that. We do not do that.
No, but I mean, we'll ask like one of our loyal people. Hey, do me a favor. Put this up on Reddit.
Why? Why do they want to see that? They don't give a shit about that.
I think people might want to see it.
I don't think they care. I think the people that want to see it will be here and they will see it. We don't need it on Reddit.
I think that we should get into the wrestling news. And if Jacob has anything to contribute, then Jacob can. I don't know if he can be with us for the entire broadcast, but he's definitely here for the first part anyway. So we'll get into the wrestling news. If Jacob wants to contribute, more than welcome to.
Does Jacob have a rat tail? What's going on back there?
I guess borrowed the Santino Marella style. Remember the Santino Marella from back in the day?
Yeah.
A faux hawk and a rat tail at the same time.
I probably had a rat tail when I was like 4 or 5. I mean, I was alive in the 80s, so.
There you go. All right, we're going to get to the news. I hope you're over the emotion of meeting Jacob Sapp from Dildo, Newfoundland. And that's a real place. Look it up, Dildo, Newfoundland.
I'm good.
So let's switch over now and get into the wrestling news. And Jacob can contribute if he feels the need. Let's talk about the WWE brand split, Sean.
What brand split?
Yeah, I know. We got to talk about this. You know, we have long joked about how imperfect the brand split is. We've long joked about how they would say the Survivor Series is the one night a year when superstars from Raw and superstars from SmackDown collide, when we know that it's absolute nonsense. This week, they took things to an even more embarrassing level because they had Roman Reigns, who is now a SmackDown talent, announce on social media that he's going to be on Raw just because he feels like it. Then they went to even more embarrassment level by having Vince McMahon announce that there's going to be a wild card rule now where Go
Here's
ahead.
the thing. Vince was to kick off the show with some big announcement.
Right.
And then he came up with this on the fly.
Yes.
What was the announcement?
I think the announcement he was going to try to come up with something on the fly. and so then they announced the wild card rule. 3 can come to Raw, 3 can come to SmackDown. Then they followed that up after announcing 3 can come to Raw, 3 can come to SmackDown. They followed that up by having 5 show up from SmackDown on to Raw. Then Vince McMahon, Sean, in one segment, we're talking in a span of like 15 seconds, in one segment, he ignored a stipulation and he changed his mind. And a 15-second span, which are 2 things that he's famous for.
And the thing I hate about it is if they want to, they can try to make it a storyline, and there will be people that believe, oh, Vince isn't indecisive. It's all just a storyline.
Right.
It's a well-crafted storyline that they've been working for 15 years.
Right.
That's the point.
It's a work shoot.
Yeah.
Right. It's very obvious why they did this. They did this because ratings have been at all-time lows. They did this because they're getting heat from NBC Universal. Fox has got to be concerned with where the numbers are, under 2 million a week for SmackDown. This is the reason that they did it. Now, you could look at it and say, well, yeah, they made a big deal of having Roman on Raw. Meanwhile, Roman was the main guy on SmackDown last week when they hit under 2 million viewers, so he's not necessarily a game changer. But the fact of the matter is, and you just kind of hit upon it, these are issues that have been cascading for 10 plus years. This is not something that happened overnight. They've been cascading for 10 plus years, and now we are seeing the trickle effect where this is happening. And what they're doing with this wildcard rule, and this is my biggest issue with it, Sean, it's hotshot booking, right? And it makes me think back to the days of, say, Goldberg, Hulk Hogan. Remember those days?
Yeah.
Goldberg, Hulk Hogan. Eric Bischoff could have taken Goldberg, Hulk Hogan. He could have made it a 6-month program that culminated with a match on pay-per-view. He would have done gangbuster business, but all he cared about was popping a rating because he wanted to beat WWE in 1 week. That's all he cared about.
But but here's the thing. At least Eric Bischoff had 2 big stars there. He had 2 stars, and one of them got made that night. So there was something long-term accomplished there, and I don't see that in WWE. There's so much of the marquee has to be WWE and not Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns, and that was the case forever. And I see a lot of people saying, oh, just end the brand split. And I'm thinking, no, don't, because I covered SmackDown before that, and I would see a lot of pointless booking, a lot of 50-50 booking, and stuff that was not referenced a few days later. It was a step above main event. Yes. It was WWE main event for people who mattered a little bit. That's it. And I don't want that. I know Fox doesn't want that. Yep. If WWE wants a successful show, try to build stars. Try to make individuals special. Because I hate to let you guys know this. We don't get a lot of attention for, say, Bellator MMA Europe, just because the Bellator tag is on there. Right. But if Rory McDonald is fighting, people might tune in. They like him a little bit more. UFC shows, the bigger the star, the more attention it gets.
Sure. And it's the same thing in WWE, right? It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. And again, you know, and I feel like we've talked about this stuff before, but again, years in the making, these issues that they're having now, years in the making. It's not because of talent injuries, which is what Vince McMahon said in the Q1 earnings call. It's not because of any other bullshit. It's because of creative issues, and it starts at the top. And when you go back 10, 15 years ago, you already said 50-50 booking. Mm-hmm. And I know that Hunter in the past has gone public and said 50-50 booking is a myth. It's not. The fact of the matter is, every talent on the roster, with the possible exception of Roman Reigns right now in terms of full-time talent, every talent on the roster, you win some, you lose some.
How pumped are you to watch BJ Penn fight this weekend, Jimmy? You're probably not, because he loses all the time.
Guida, though, right? Guida,
yeah, that's fine. But you know who I'm pumped to see fight this, or who I was pumped to see fight? Donald Cerrone, because he was a star. he had become a star, and then he had a bit of the 50-50, but he's on the come up. He hasn't been winning and losing. He's been winning his fights.
Right.
That's why you want to see it. If
I agree.
you become a star into the stratosphere like a Conor McGregor, like a Chael Sonnen did at one point, you can lose and that's okay. But the problem is they never get anybody there. And if the situation is injuries, then right now they should be blowing the doors off of everybody. Because here are the people that are hurt right now, Jimmy. Nia Jax, one of the members of Authors of Pain, Fandango. That's it on Raw. Ronda Rousey, maybe. On SmackDown, you've got Sin Cara, Big Show, Big E, Sheamus, and Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy has a loyal following. Nobody else there. Big E is great.
Yep.
Not a lot of needle movers that are missing right now. So if it's injuries, they should be blowing the doors off everybody.
I agree. And you know, again, not to sound like a broken record, but between the 50-50 booking, win some, lose some, between forcing talent to regurgitate word for word written scripts that are written for them by somebody else, not allowing them to let their personality shine through by giving them bullets and saying, you got 5 minutes, off to the races kind of thing. By doing that, by not listening to the audience when the audience wanted Rusev to be in a prominent position, when the audience wanted Bayley to be in a prominent position, but they didn't listen because those weren't Vince's favorites. That was an issue. Ignoring stipulations, blowing off programs too fast. Wasn't it Hunter that said that way back when Evolution first split up, Vince wanted to do the blow off the next week on Raw?
Yeah.
With Batista and Hunter. Yeah. And that goes back how many years? This is how long these issues have been taking place. This is nothing new, and now they're seeing it. And going back to the brand split for a second, so the brand split was there's supposed to be 2 points to the brand split. Okay? The first point was supposed to be to create more stars because you would have more talent on television if you have them devoted to one brand. So that was point number one. That was objective number one, create more stars. Objective number two, make both shows appointment viewing. Because you would know, if I want to see AJ Styles, I got to watch Raw. If I want to see Roman Reigns, I got to watch SmackDown. Now doing what they're doing, mixing everything up and having guys on both brands, number one, there's a lot of talent that's not going to be on television, Sean. That's number one. And we've seen that some guys, Rhino being an example, you can offer to double his downside. He wants to work. He doesn't want to sit at home collecting his downside. And a lot more guys are going to be like that. That's problem number one. And problem number two, neither show's appointment viewing anymore. I missed SmackDown this week, but that's cool because I saw Roman on Raw anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all of this stuff is very problematic. And how are you going to maintain a roster this large? How are you going to do it? There's going to be more and more guys like Revival, like Gallows and Anderson, like Luke Harper. I'm trying to think of who else has asked for the release lately. Sasha Banks, maybe. There's going to be a lot more guys asking for their release because they're not being used because they're loading both shows with the same talent now, and there's no time for everybody. It's going to happen.
And the thing is, you've got so many really, really good, talented people on this roster. Just make use of them. I watched a show last night. My wife and I started to watch it, and we got about 4 or 5 episodes in, and they've built this outstanding character, Jimmy, who has never been on the screen. You've never heard their voice, but they're a character that you wonder about, you hear about. And I'm like, my God.
Was it the Black Scorpion?
The hell's that?
Come on!
Oh, the WCW shit?
Yeah.
Nobody watching this will remember.
Oh, some people will know who the Black Scorpion is. Give them credit. Some people will know.
It was a show called Dead to Me, if anybody's familiar with that. But like, you have no clue anything really about this person. You've never seen them, but you care about them one way or another.
Right.
And in WWE, they have 52 weeks a year, and they make you care less about people when they're on the show than when they're not. Like, for example, a lot of people are worried about what's going on with EC3. Like, man, why don't they give him a push? If he was on TV, I get the feeling they would find a way to make us care less than him not being on TV.
Yeah.
That's the problem there.
Yeah, and again, a lot of the problem, too, and again, we've talked about this before, it comes down to insulting the intelligence of the fan base. And it goes back to, in the 80s, Sean, Vince McMahon could get away with booking stupid shit because most of the fan base, there was no internet. Most of the fan base had no clue what was going on behind the scenes, and you could kind of get away with it. In the mid-90s, early to mid-90s, you could get away with it for the same reason. You can't get away with it now. Everybody is on the internet. Everybody knows what's going on behind the scenes. They're aware of everybody's contract status. They're aware of who loves who hates who's injured, who's whatever. They know everything. You can't get away with booking this stupid shit, and they continue to do it. And yes, it's entertainment. Oh, it's not real, it's entertainment. But you still have to come up with stuff that makes sense. And you know one thing that's driven me crazy from forever, Sean? Because they did it again on Raw this week. It drives me crazy when they do the 25-minute promo segments where one guy comes out after the next.
It was 30 minutes before a wrestling move was done on that show.
And what I hate about those segments when they do it, because lately they've been doing it a lot, and what I hate about it is the fans understand what's going on, so they know that those 6 guys that just got in the ring acting shocked that the next guy's coming out, they know those 6 guys are standing in gorilla together waiting for the music.
Yeah.
They know it. You need to treat the fan with respect. You need to know that they understand what's going on. And this has long been another one of my issues.
Somebody on our live chat says, does Sean even know anything about wrestling? He doesn't know the Black Scorpion? I know who it was. I was busy being fucking 4 years old while it happened.
But you know what it
I was
is.
busy shitting in my pants at that
Doing
point.
that at 4.
Are you talking about when you were watching the network last week? Is that what you're talking about? Speaking of creative, you broke a bunch of stories this week. Now, I don't think we need to go into great detail because you already did, like on the post-Raw show and on the post-SmackDown show.
On the Fightful Report podcast to an extreme degree. Subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. I go through all those exclusives, give you additional news. By the way, guys, reminder, Q&A show this week. Get over there and ask questions.
There you go. But tell me, so everybody's probably heard it. So Ryan Callahan, Sean broke the story on him. The woman with the Emmy Award, what the hell was her name?
Jen Pepperman.
Jen Pepperman, you broke that one. People probably heard. The one I'm not sure that you've talked about is that, what's the guy from Vice?
Dave Schilling.
Yeah, about how he was gone in a week.
Yeah, gone in a week. He, from what I was told, he had a lot of ideas, like almost, from what I understand, too many ideas.
Right.
As if that's such a bad thing, but it can't be there. And that he thought that he could kind of book everything and change the world, and that's the thing, you can't change the world there, and was out the door pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's too bad. I mean, politics lead you up in that company anyway, you know. Another creative element. What's that?
It's better him than me.
True. We got new sounds this week, Sean. So another creative element that I want to talk about, and this is something else we've talked about in the past, is what they're doing with the Revival right now.
Yeah.
Now everybody again knows what's going on. They were offered these new deals. Sean Ross Sapp broke the story. They were offered new deals. They haven't signed the new deals. WWE's being petty and they're being childish and, oh, you don't want to sign the new deals? We're going to book you in petty shit on television, and you're going to do it because if you don't, then we're going to add time to your contracts. So you're going to do a thing where you're shaving your back, and we're going to do a thing where we're putting Uzi Hot on your crotch and all this kind of shit.
They laugh, but that's really what happened.
That's really what they did. That's really what they did. But here's my question for you, Sean, and it's a two-part question. Part number one is, how did they expect other contracted talent that maybe when their contracts are coming due, maybe they're having second guesses about re-signing or whatever, how do they expect those people to want to stay when they're doing bullshit like this? That's question number one. And question number two is, do they not think about what they're doing to the Usos
because
in a program like this?
WWE, pal. That's why people will want to stay.
Right.
But as we're seeing, some of the great artists in wrestling don't want to stay.
No, and more than ever, I think that there's been more talent in the last quarter that have been unhappy and wanted to leave than maybe at any other time in their history.
Jimmy Rhino doesn't want to stay.
Yeah, for Double the Downside, too.
For Double the Downside. Now, here's a funny thing. I published a story, I think in February. I interviewed Hangman Page, and he unleashed the line, I've heard of people getting their guarantees doubled by WWE since we came around. And like a dozen people were like, he's full of shit. No, he's not, by the sounds of it.
No. But the
Rhino
money
Head is doubled, and he said, you know what I'd rather do? I'd rather wrestle for the next 5 years.
That's
and
right.
Then prove my worth even more, and then maybe I could do something after that. I admire that.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. But again, going back to the Revival thing, the Usos are supposed to be a babyface tag team, right?
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks they've been bullying assholes by bullying around the Revival and laughing at their expense and everything. WWE's not thinking about how they're making the guys in programs with guys that they're trying to humiliate, how it makes them look to the viewer. And I was watching the Usos the last 2 weeks and I thought to myself, this isn't funny. You guys are just dicks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically all there is to it. I watch it and I cannot believe it. And I was joking on Twitter on Monday night about clearly Vince McMahon's been watching Revenge of the Nerds because he stole that whole concept directly from Revenge of the Nerds, which is a 1984 movie, which fits in perfectly with Vince's time frame in terms of when he'd be watching stuff like that. It's really unfortunate, man, and. I don't know. The way they're doing it is just so petty, and I don't know what else to say about it,
It's very frustrating is what it is, because it can be good.
Yeah.
And that's what's frustrating to me. And there will be people who hate on it or apologize, make apologies for it no matter what. I just want to see something consistently good. So far, Kofi Kingston is consistently good, and that's really the limit to what I can say is good almost every single week. I'll tell you who's good. Jeff Cobb. We spoke to him recently.
He just lost the open weight title.
But he's a winner because he's here on Fightful.com.
Awesome. There you go.
How long are you with ROH? Is this a long-term commitment? I know that you had to kind of wait out the Lucha Underground thing, but then they got a little more relaxed and some other names have become available. What's your future look like in Ring of Honor?
I initially signed for 1 year. And that was one of the reasons why, too, I decided to go with Ring of Honor was, Impact originally offered me a 2-year deal. And I was telling, I think it was Sanjay Dutt at the time, I was like, hey, man, listen, I just got out of a bad relationship with the Lucha contract. So I was like, I really don't want to be tied down for a long period of time right now. And, they really wanted to push for the 2-year contract. And I just didn't want something long-term right now, just for the fact that, again, I just got out of this crazy, quote-unquote, 7 or 9 year deal or whatever it was the Lucha contract was. And, I just didn't want to be tied down for so long.
Were you surprised that there was a class action lawsuit against Lucha Underground that led to releases?
Not at all. I mean, I wasn't shocked that someone finally. I was more shocked that it took this long for somebody to do that. It was good while it was going, and then it just no clue what happened. Like I wish I knew what happened. If they would just been more upfront and told us what was going on, I think there would have been a lot more less angry people. Mm-hmm. But
a lot of people know about your wrestling background. A lot of people maybe don't know that you wrestled guy Yoel Romero, big name in the UFC now. What was that experience like?
Well, I think I was like 20 or 21 at the time. And that dude, there was a reason why he's an Olympic medalist. Like, he just throttled the floor with me. But then backstage, he was like a super nice guy. So, yeah. I'm not shocked that he's how dominating he is in the UFC. He just needed that little time to transition from a wrestler to all-around fighter, and I think he's definitely reaping the benefits. And I think he's like, I don't know, I think he's in his 40s, but
he's 41.
Yeah, he looks really good for 41.
He'll be 42 in a month. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, for him to be that age and just dominating, and how explosive he still is, and a freak athlete. More power to him.
Super chats. Anakin JMT says, why won't AEW announce how to watch Double or Nothing? Reminder, guys, Donate any amount on the super chat. We will answer your question, or you can subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. Ask unlimited questions over there.
Let me jump in. So in the UK they did. In the UK they announced that it's going to be on ITV box office pay-per-view at a cost of about £15 for standard def or £18 for high def. In the US, I'm told in a week, right? Apparently in a week they're going to announce the US partner.
Yeah, and I would imagine Fight will be an option as well. I mean, why wouldn't they be? That's an easy digital option.
Right.
Our friends at Ace Nation Podcast says, do you think Bray should return with a stable? I think it's worth seeing him on his own, how this works.
We'll see how it goes. It looks to me, and I think it was Alex Pulaski on the Raw podcast that said this too, I think it's going to come out that those characters are basically Bray characters, like people with inside of Bray. I mean, Mercy the Buzzard, everybody thought that Bray Wyatt was Waylon Mercy, like a Waylon Mercy wannabe.
Yeah.
And this week when they did the video and when Mercy the Buzzard spoke, he spoke just like Waylon Mercy.
Yeah.
So I think that Mercy is a character inside of Bray. The Rambling Rabbit, I'm trying to figure out because obviously he wanted to kill that one, so I'm trying to figure out who that was. Sister Abigail is an obvious one. I think that they're all characters inside of Bray. Apparently he did want Luke Harper to be part of it, and Vince McMahon's being just a petty little bitch, and so they're not having Luke Harper.
I got more on that soon. I've been talking to people closest to or close to that situation. Also, Anakin JMT asks, how long till SmackDown tag belts become hemp belts? I don't think they will.
You know what? I'm so glad you brought that up because I was going to say one thing next. Whenever we criticize something, and I spoke about this last week about AEW, whenever we criticize something, people misconstrue that to think that we hate it. And we're criticizing WWE because they deserve it. I don't hate WWE. Sean doesn't hate WWE. And so I wanted to mention as a positive that I think that Daniel Bryan and Rowan winning the tag titles is a great move. I think it's especially great for Bryan because he lost his WWE title rematch on Monday. And so what do you do with him now that he lost his rematch? You make him a tag champion for a while. I think it's a really good move. I want to see eco-friendly belt, Sean.
I do too, and I would imagine that the replicas are probably selling well, the WWE style.
I asked for one for Father's Day.
Oh.
So,
Justin Wally sent a super chat and says, Sean, can you say Steph is the best for my girlfriend watching me? Well, for $5 Canadian, you damn right I can. Steph is the best.
Wow, you moved right over it.
Jimmy. You to doubt Steph.
Maybe Jacob can say Steph is the best. What do you think? I should make it clear that because Jacob is from Dildo, Newfoundland, they have a really thick accent in Newfoundland, and so we wouldn't be able to understand him anyway, so it's probably best.
If you're running a whatever the hell, I can't pronounce
Doppelganger
of me, making it a mute immediately makes it not believable.
I mean, doppelganger technically means that you look the same. It has nothing to do with personality.
Yeah, sorry. You don't have a beautiful face like that and not chirp about it.
Okay, let's move on and talk about the XFL, Sean. Now this, so I want to kind of explain this for people. You talk about rolling the dice, Sean. You know what Vince McMahon just did with this deal? Vince McMahon just went to Vegas. He went to a craps table and he rolled the dice because that's exactly what he's doing. They announced this week that they've signed broadcast deals with ESPN and Fox, and they're going to be airing games Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons, 2 games a day on various related stations. So ABC, ESPN, Fox, FS1. This is a major roll of the dice. There are no rights fees in this deal, at least in part because of the AAF, I'm sure. And I asked Sean when this news broke, because it came out that ESPN and Fox are picking up production costs to the tune of about $400,000 a game. I said to Sean, does that cover every game? Because ESPN and Fox are not airing every single game. And so I wanted to know, have you found out about that?
I think it only affects the games that are being broadcast, not anything additional. But
so that means that ABC's games aren't covered then?
Well, I think that from what I understand, and I could be wrong, I'm still trying to get a little bit of clarity on this. Whatever's broadcast, the TV, the games that are aired are covered.
Okay.
That could be wrong. I still trying to develop some sources within the XFL. One would.
You mean you can't just go to your WWE reps because it's the same?
Well, I don't think WWE's PR would like to answer any questions. I'm pretty sure they don't even like the fact that it's happening. But I'll say this. I'm not optimistic about the XFL, and I'm still infinitely more optimistic about it than I was when the AAF was first announced.
Yeah, so I want to explain this because I know that a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this thing is gonna shit the bed," and it might. But here's the situation. So Vince McMahon committed from the very beginning to $500 million over 3 years. Right? From the very start, he committed that. In this deal, there's no rights fees. There's no ad revenue either. The broadcast networks are keeping it. The only thing the XFL is getting is sponsorship money from the local venues, which is going to be next to nothing, and the broadcast exposure. Yep. And this is where Vince McMahon is rolling the dice. He is basically saying, I am going to spend up to $500 million over 3 years. And given these numbers and given the AAF's losses, he's probably going to lose in excess of $100 million a year on the XFL, but he has said, I'm going to spend $500 million over 3 years, and what he's basically gambling or hoping is that he's going to build an audience because of that broadcast exposure, so that in a few years he can then get a rights fee deal.
Yes.
And that's what he's hoping for. Now, this is a major gamble. Now, one other thing I want to mention, because I read a little bit of stuff on social media. People like to comment when they don't know all the facts, right? And one thing that I read was people said, well, that's dumb because the original XFL was on NBC and it didn't go anywhere. NBC had a prime time deal with the XFL. When you're in prime time, the pressure is about 100 times what it is right in the afternoon. He doesn't have that pressure on Saturday and Sunday afternoons, meaning that they're not going to cancel him after a few weeks.
Oh yeah, they got drone races and college softball in those time slots right now.
That's right. So he's going to probably get the whole season out of the deal, but he's going to lose his ass. And then the question's going to be again: is the audience going to be there so that he can get a rights fee deal later? I guarantee you, Game 1, just like the AAF and just like the first XFL, Game 1 will draw a good number. Game 2 is going to dip. Game 3 is going to dip. Who knows where the bottom's going to be? The question is, are the numbers going to come back up so that in 2-3 years he gets that rights fee deal? Major gamble that he's taken, but you know what? Good on him for having what did they used to say on TV? Giant grapefruit, Sean?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know about. I just think it's a dumb idea to put teams where he put teams.
I agree with that too, and it's going to be more expensive. It's going to be more expensive to run those teams than where the AAF had a lot of their teams. Yep. But that's what he's doing, man. Let's move on and talk about Ring of Honor, because this could potentially be big for Ring of Honor.
Oh, yeah.
Their parent company, Sinclair Broadcast Group, they've entered into an agreement with Disney to buy equity interest in 21 regional sports networks. It's still subject to closing conditions. They got to be approved by the U.S. Department of Justice. Sinclair is going to do this under a new subsidiary called Diamond Sports Group. And this is great for Ring of Honor because obviously if it's a sports-themed subsidiary, they're going to have Ring of Honor on every one of those stations, which is going to give them access to a combined 74 million subscribers in those markets. Could be massive for Ring of Honor. So.
Oh yeah, and now here's the thing: it would be really good for people who are discovering Ring of Honor, because the reality is a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know where to watch Ring of Honor. It's been on their website for years. Every episode. If you want to watch Ring of Honor and you have access to the internet, you can watch Ring of Honor. You might be on a week delay, but the TV is often so detached from the pay-per-view anyway that it might not necessarily matter. I'm really interested to find out how WWE's dwindling numbers affect the upcoming AEW, how it affects Ring of Honor, how it affects MLW, how it affects Impact, who have the Impact Plus service launching, how it affects New Japan and their expansion into the States. I feel like that bubble built and built and built, and it might burst soon. But I think the real indication of whether or not that bubble has burst is going to be what happens with all these companies this year. I think that we won't really be able to tell until that happens. But right now, I think that WWE is quite honestly doing the entire wrestling industry a disservice.
Yep, I completely agree, and that actually kind of brings me to my next point. So WWE just put up the video presentation for this year's Business Partner Summit. Anybody that's not familiar with that, they do it every year, WrestleMania week. And it's where they kind of talk to their business partners about their upcoming plans and whatnot. And there were two big things that came out of it this year. One was the new network launch. They confirmed it's going to happen later this year. They confirmed that it's going to include downloadable content as well as multiple tiers, which we've talked about. That means that they're probably going to have those independent promotions that they've already partnered with and show their content on a higher price tier. The other thing they're going to do, and I understand why they're doing it, but I just think it's going to lead to greater saturation. They've announced that the next two markets for the performance centers that they plan to expand into are China and India.
Yeah.
And again, makes total sense. These are ginormous markets that they've never been able to properly monetize. So it makes sense that you want to do your best. You want to get, local training facilities and develop local talent. They're so saturated. Who's watching NXT UK? Like, is anybody watching NXT UK?
There's some people who pretend to when they retweet those GIFs that Total Diva Zaps does on Twitter, but I've got a little bit of news about all that. As I mentioned a few months ago, a lot of these new road agent signings were done with the new markets in consideration.
Right.
And hey, you want to start in India territory? You got Jeff Jarrett, and you've got Abyss, and you've got Sanjay Dutt, who did Ring Ka King years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've been there. They've had that experience there. Also, getting rid of Mahabali Shera, that's good for every market. Let me tell you that much. The relaunch. So the company had been testing, like doing a lot of research surveys. I think it was well over a year ago, around Mania last year, maybe the year before. But the initial layout was like a Netflix app with their own style laid over it. But it had, I don't know how familiar you are with Instagram or Snapchat, but at the top there are like Instagram stories, Snapchat stories for each individual person. The early layouts, at the very least, featured those types of things, but for superstars. So if you only cared about like Roman Reigns, you could click on him and you get just a ton of updated content, whether it be from social, whether it be from matches, whether it be WWE.com clips.
I think they refer to that as speed of discovery in the business partner summary. Yeah, I think that's what they refer to that as.
And they were clueless on the layout, at least, of the interface as of early this year. But I know that they had been working on this since like last summer at the very least, and a ton of the focus was put on improving the search function. By the way, guys, this was all on Fightful Select, I think, in late April. I think April 25th, I reported all this over there. Subscribe now. But right now, if you type in, like, just an example, WrestleMania 33, WrestleMania 14 might come up. The search function is horrible, and I'm told that the current setup was just not made to handle the type of library and search variability that they have, because that is a massive, massive library. Mm-hmm. And I'm told it's going to take like key terms into consideration. Like if you type in betrayal, you'll get like a bunch of heel turn moments. That's what I was told by some people who were close to this.
Very interesting. Okay, let's go to Stupid People.
Stupid people is what this segment's called. You might wonder why we do it. It's not about wrestling at all. Used to be WWE's weekly usage of stupid nicknames, which we did hoping they'd stop giving wrestlers lame names. But it didn't work, so we gave up. In the new segment, we came up with this stupid people. Stupid people, stupid people. Duh.
Okay. So,
the fact that Melissa doesn't laugh at my jokes but thinks this is funny is disturbing.
I don't know why
what is going on?
It's because the light is playing off of that thing weird.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. I'm keeping it up here anyway. So, this first one, I can't get it in the shot because when I do...
It looks more like Ty Dillinger than me, and they're not wrong.
It definitely looks like you. Definitely looks like you. Dead ringer. So this first one, this was sent in by Scotty Styles29, at Scotty Styles29 on Twitter, reported by the Gainesville Sun-It of Gainesville, Florida on May 7. So this one, Sean, I'm putting this on Stupid People because of the law, not because of the crime. All right? I want to make that clear. So a 23-year-old man out of Lake City, Florida, his name is Dylan Shane Webb. He got pulled over by a sheriff's deputy because he was in violation of Florida state obscenity laws. Did you know that Florida had a state obscenity law, Sean?
No.
Yeah, they have a state obscenity law. What do you think he did to be in violation of that law?
Flip somebody off.
He had a sticker in his back window that said, "I eat ass." We have it. Put a picture up, Nigel.
1 second. I forgot to put a background.
Oh, and of course, Nigel forgot to put the graphic in.
No, it's good. Here we are.
There you go.
You know what? Hats off, man. It is ass-eating season.
Now, to that guy's credit, Sean, because I say good for him, to this guy's credit, the cop said to him, "I will let you off with a warning if you remove one of the letters from the word ass." And the guy said, "No, it's a violation of my First Amendment rights."
I mean,
So-
it kind of is.
Well, that's what he said. So he actually got arrested for resisting an officer without violence. He got taken to jail, and he paid a $2,500 bail to get out. Good for you for standing up for yourself, man. Good for you.
Yeah, man. And the thing is, the officer that pulled him over, what did he really accomplish? What's the point of this law? What?
He's probably just being a bit of a dick.
All right.
you know?
Are we doing a segment here, or are we giggling?
He was probably just being a bit of a dick, you know?
Giggle.
You know what I want to know? I want to know if this could be like a voodoo doll where, like, if I go like that, it's going to hurt your nose. You know what I mean? I'm curious about that.
My nose has been broken for like a good 10 years. So.
Yeah, it feels like it. It feels like it.
The officer that was looking to prevent this obscenity just magnified the situation.
He did. Yeah, it was one of those things.
Oh, that's hilarious. It's a here.
All right. This
It looks like a child from my point of view here is sitting on his lap very lovingly, but it's your head.
a child with Andre the Giant's head? Is that what it looks like to you?
Kind of.
All right, this next one. This is reported by WBBH NBC2 at Fort Myers, Florida. On May 6th, they're always in Florida, man.
Always Florida.
You know? So a 25-year-old Florida woman, she was pulled over in a traffic stop in the early morning hours for driving through a stop sign. All right? The cop gave her a warning, and then he asked her, is there anything else that I should know about? Is there anything else that, you know?
She looked him dead in the eye and she says, "I eat ass."
She responded when he said, is there anything else you want to tell me? Is there anything else I should know? She responded by pulling an alligator out of her yoga pants. Put up that picture, Nigel. There you go.
Oh, it's cute.
She pulled a 1-foot baby alligator out of her yoga pants. She also had a backpack that contained 43 turtles.
What?
43 turtles. It turned out that her and her 22-year-old companion that was in the car with her, they were like hanging out of the swamp that morning.
Why was that a footnote on that story? That's amazing.
That's what they did. Nigel is losing his shit. He's losing his shit over here. 43 turtles. That's what happened.
I've never seen Nigel like this.
Yeah, Nigel's lost his shit on this one.
This sounds like a live-action Super Mario Brothers movie. Like,
Almost. Well, the animal.
Okay. I have questions, and I don't know if you're going to have the answers.
I'll try my best. Go ahead. I'll try my best.
Did the officer see the alligator? Like, did he
Before she pulled it out of her yoga pants?
pants?
Before she pulled it out of her yoga pants? I don't think so.
I mean, yoga pants are traditionally pretty tight.
I don't know what this girl looked like.
Experience with yoga pants.
I'm just, that's what happened.
Were the turtles alive?
Yes.
I didn't even think of that.
Yes.
Small, yeah?
They were small and they were alive. I think that they had just gotten them from a swamp because this was 3 o'clock in the morning when they were pulled over.
That's disturbing.
Yeah. That's what, almost as disturbing as me gently holding your head in my hands.
Yeah,
You know?
sure is.
Was the alligator brought out as a threat, or was it?
No, I think she probably felt guilty, and she's like, by the way, I have an alligator in my yoga pants. So that's what happened. So they seized the animals, they released them. She was given a citation. She didn't really do anything crazy illegal, I suppose. I mean, it's Florida. It's not like they're not around. You know what I mean? So,
That's
yeah.
scary.
Okay, this last one. I'm not sure what Sean's going to think of this one. This is for the SRS file, and it was reported by the Associated Press on April 29th. I don't know if he's going to find this offensive, but we're going to see. So, back in 2015, Sean, and Nigel will know because he's all into this kind of shit, I think. Back in 2015, a conservative and nationalist government won power in Poland. Okay?
Nigel loves
Nigel's nodding. Oh, he knows this stuff. He knows. Ever since then, the Polish government has drawn criticism because they're trying to make changes to things, or they're threatening to cut funding to things because they don't fit into their vision of how things are supposed to be, right? Because it's a conservative government. One of their targets
They
is
canceled WCW Nitro.
in Poland in 20. I mean, it's fair that it might be on there in Poland now. It's possible. No, one of their targets is a piece of art film that's been at the National Museum of Warsaw for over 40 years, Sean. For over 40 years, it's been there.
Old Pounders 4.
The Ministry of Culture is forcing the museum to remove it. Why do you think the Ministry of Culture is forcing the museum after 40 plus years to remove this video?
It's porn.
It shows girls eating bananas in a suggestive way. We got a clip. Put it up, Nigel.
Oh, we have the clip.
Yeah, we got a clip. This is the art film.
Oh boy.
This is the art film. Yep. It was produced in 1973 by an artist named Natalia L.L. It's called Consumer Art, and it shows models eating things like bananas and hot dogs. It was supposedly put together as a criticism of food shortages that were taking place under communist rule in the 70s, because this thing was made in 73. So it was done to criticize food shortages under communist rule in the 70s. Now, this story in Poland is actually making headline news to the extent that Polish politicians and Polish celebrities are posting pictures on social media of themselves eating bananas.
Yeah, I mean, when you said that, I thought it was going to be far more suggestive than it was.
Right. I mean, I didn't show the whole video.
Boy, have times changed. They couldn't even eat bananas hot back then.
I mean, I didn't show any of the Frankfurter stuff, but
It's 15 minutes long.
It's 15 minutes
plenty
long.
in there.
yeah,
Could be our green screen.
maybe next time. All right, let's move on, Sean. I want to talk about how much time we got. Not a lot. Let's talk about Eli Drake. Because I think it was you that I think you broke the story that Impact is trying to enforce a 1-year non-compete.
That's the news coming out of it, yeah.
And it's because he complained he didn't want to do a intergender match with Tessa Blanchard.
Correct.
Okay. I know this as an employer. That's going nowhere.
Exactly.
They are not going to enforce a non-compete. Eli Drake is going to do whatever the hell he wants. That's bullshit. And they should know better. Let's move on from that. You broke another story this week, Sean.
Yeah, as is tradition.
You broke the story this week that WWE used to require talent to give up their social media logins, but they don't anymore. Explain that.
So I followed up on a report where Mike Johnson said that that's a current practice. I don't know that it was ever a regular practice. I know that